Stop. Don't scroll. This word has an address, and it's marked with the date of a forgiveness you released and a blessing that has been held for 7 years. This is not a video about the person you forgave. It's about what your silent act of obedience unlocked in the spiritual realm while you thought no one was watching. You are tired, and it's a specific kind of tired that sleep does not fix, because it was not produced by the work of your hands. It was produced by the vigilance of your soul. It's the exhaustion of a soldier sleeping on the battlefield, one ear always open for the coming attack. It's the 3 a.m. wake-up call with a weight on your chest that has no name, the shallow breathing, the mind that rehearses battles that are already over. Your body is still at war, even though you have already waved the white flag of forgiveness. This exhaustion has seeped into your decisions. The small choices of a common day, choices that should be simple, now stand before you like mountains. You hesitate. You second-guess. You make a call out of urgency because the silence of waiting for clarity is more painful than the risk of making another mistake. And so the pattern repeats. Different people, different settings, but the same outcome. You can diagnose the error. You can see the cycle, but you feel utterly powerless to break it, as if you are fighting a ghost in your own machine, and you bring that war home. Your wife, she's learned not to ask, "How was your day?" because the answer is written in the silence you carry through the front door. Your children feel the tension in the air. They approach you with a caution they shouldn't have to possess. They want their father, but they sense they only have access to the warrior, and the warrior has no room left to carry their small burdens. Your home, the one place you were meant to find refuge, has become another battlefield where you try and fail to hide the weight of the primary one. If this sounds like the room you've been living in, if you recognize the air in this description, I want you to do something. Don't do it for me. Do it as an act of positioning before God. Just type "I am here" in the comments below. It's a declaration that you are present for the word that has been sent for you. Before I continue, I need to tell you exactly what is going to happen in the next few minutes, so you understand why staying until the end matters. First, I'm going to show you why the last 7 years have felt like a desert and how the forgiveness you released, maybe yesterday, maybe months ago, was the final missing piece in the map of your appointed time, qualifying you for something you had already stopped asking for. You will recognize yourself not in generalities, but in the specifics. Second, I am going to give you a Hebrew word that names the specific test God has put you through in this season. When you hear the sound of it, the exhaustion of these 7 years will make sense as training, not as abandonment. This happens inside this video. You will receive it right where you are. Third, and finally, I will declare 2 names over you. Not a generic blessing. A specific commission with the names that were registered for you in heaven while you were going through the fire on earth. One to seal who you became in the waiting, and one to release who you will be as you steward what is coming. I don't promise that this will change your life by tomorrow morning. I promise that if you stay with me until the very end, you will leave here knowing something you did not know before, holding something specific in your spirit, and sealed with a declaration that remains after this video is over. If you leave in the middle, you leave with the memory of the pain, but without the seal of your new identity. Don't do this work by half. Stay until the end. Your act of forgiveness was not closing a chapter. It was planting a seed. You planted it in the hard, frozen ground of winter, in a season where nothing grows, and you walked away thinking it was buried. You saw no rain. You saw no sign of life. For 7 years the ground remained barren, and you learned to live with the holy disappointment of an obedience that felt fruitless. But the seed was never dead. It was simply obeying the season it was in. It was working in the dark, pushing down roots in a place no one could see, preparing for a spring you had stopped believing would ever come. The problem is not that you have been fighting your battles poorly. The problem is that you have been fighting with your bare hands. You have been tending a field meant for harvest with no tool to break the ground, no instrument to gather what has grown in the dark. And on that very subject, on not just receiving the blessing, but knowing how to govern it so it doesn't become a burden or a snare. On arriving home and having your family feel the peace before you even speak a word. There is a code that Solomon recorded for the day after the great breakthrough. Keep that in the back of your mind. I will come back to it when the time is right. But what happens to a seed that was planted in obedience, watered only by silence, and that now insists on breaking through the ground? What happens when the season changes overnight? You arrived here because an act of obedience in your life opened an exception in heaven. The word was given, the decree was issued, and now begins the part where most people lose the promise. Because between the word received and the word fulfilled in the ordinary day, there is an interval the enemy knows better than you do. And it is in this interval that most of the chosen forfeit what was granted. Not because the decree was revoked, but because they got home on a Monday morning and did not have the instrument to sustain it. Solomon was the wisest man who ever lived. That is not a title from a history book. It is a biblical record signed by God himself. When he had the chance to ask for anything, he did not ask for wealth or long life or the heads of his enemies. He asked for wisdom. And God was so moved by his request that he gave him the wisdom and everything else besides. Solomon judged the dispute of the two mothers when no one else in the kingdom knew how. He wrote 3,000 proverbs. He governed Israel at the historical apex of that nation. The Queen of Sheba traveled for months just to test his wisdom. And when she left, she said that not even half of it had been told to her, and Jesus Christ himself cited Solomon by name. And he did not take this wisdom to the grave. He left it recorded with a surgical precision that has cut through 3,000 years without losing its edge. He left recorded how to stop repeating the same mistake you have already diagnosed, the one that keeps happening in different contexts, with different people, as if there is a pattern you cannot break. He left recorded how to arrive home without unloading the weight the world put on you onto your family, so that your home finally feels the difference, needing you present, not needing you fixed. And he left recorded how to walk with the posture of a man who knows, a man with criteria, so you stop asking for counsel from those who are not qualified to give it. Stop making decisions in the heat of your pain, and stop believing those who sell cheap miracles. I have gathered this into a guide called the Solomon Wisdom Code. It is in the first pinned comment right below this video. It is the union of the wisdom of Proverbs with the principles of peaceful restoration, a framework that moves a man from a state of survival into a state of clarity and decision. Solomon wrote it. I organized it for the common day you are living right now, for the week that starts tomorrow. Along with the main guide, I have included 2 other instruments because without them, the guide would have a hole in it. The first is the ritual of the just man's sleep. It is a 10-minute guided audio to be done before you sleep, anchored in Psalm 4:8, where David writes, "In peace I will both lie down and sleep. For you alone, O Lord, make me dwell in safety." This is not a modern relaxation technique. It is the act of handing over to the care of the one who does not slumber the weight your soul carried all day, so you can stop standing guard over something that is already being protected. For the man who no longer remembers what it feels like to lay his head down and have his mind shut off along with his eyes. The second is the awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees. 5 minutes when you wake up, before the phone, before the coffee, before the first message the world tries to write on you. 7 decrees from Proverbs spoken in your own voice, positioning your day before the day positions you. It is not positive affirmation. It is biblical decree in your own voice to start the day as one who was called, not one who was crushed. And the price. It is less than a Sunday morning coffee at the church cafe, less than a Saturday lunch combo at Chick-fil-A, less than a tank of gas to drive to church on Sunday. I set it at this value on purpose, not because it is worth little. It is worth what Solomon recorded 3,000 years ago. I set it at this value so that the only obstacle between you and this tool would be your decision to reach out your hand. Not price, not your schedule, not your location. Only your hand moving toward the link, and there is a 7-day guarantee. If you open it, use it for a week, and it does not serve you, you send one email and receive a full refund. And here is the part no one else does. You keep the 2 bonus instruments. The ritual of the just man's sleep is yours to keep. The awakening of clarity, the 7 morning decrees is yours to keep, even after the refund. This is not a generous offer. It is the acknowledgement that the risk of testing it cannot be yours. The risk is ours. The only risk left for you is the risk of not testing it. And the risk of not testing it is the risk of leaving here with the decree opened in heaven and losing it on Monday morning for lack of an instrument. The next night you will lie down with your soul still on high alert is not months away. It is tonight. Perhaps in 3 hours. The next morning, you will wake up thinking of the bills, the battles, what you have not yet resolved. Starting the day at a disadvantage is tomorrow. Perhaps in 6 hours. The next time your family will receive the weight the world has placed on you is tomorrow evening. Every night, without the ritual of the just man's sleep, is a night your body will pay for. Every morning without the awakening of clarity is a morning the world gets to write on you first. Every day without the Solomon Wisdom Code is a day your household feels, and you don't even realize they feel it. The cost of delaying is not 0, but do not leave now. The ceiling is not yet finished. What I need to show you next is greater than any instrument Solomon left behind. It is the Hebrew name for what is happening to you in this exact moment, the name of the exception that was opened in heaven because of what you did. And when you hear this name, you will understand why everything up to this point has been preparation for a single word: stay. A man who has passed a test he didn't know he was taking does not feel relief. He feels a profound disorientation, and that disorientation shows up in 4 specific ways. See if you recognize them. The first is that your prayer life has changed. Where you once had words, now you have a heavy silence. It feels like your prayers aren't making it past the ceiling. The truth is, your act of forgiveness didn't just close a door on your past. It opened a door in the spirit, and God is now listening for a conversation you haven't learned how to have yet. This is not the silence of abandonment. It is the silence of a king waiting for you to step into a new level of authority. The second sign is a nameless weight that settles on you during the common day, making simple decisions feel impossibly complex. You find yourself standing at the same crossroads again, facing the same temptation to make the same mistake you swore you would never repeat. You diagnose the pattern, you see the trap, but you feel a magnetic pull toward it. This is not a sign of your weakness. This is God allowing the old test to reappear so you can see that your old way of fighting is no longer enough. He is making you desperate for a new map because the old one only leads back to the place of your wounding. The third sign, and perhaps the hardest to admit, is the silence that has crept into your home. Your wife looks at you with a love that has learned to be cautious. She no longer asks how your day was because she already feels the answer in the air. Your children hesitate before they approach you. You feel like you are failing them, but that is the enemy's lie. They are not reacting to your failure. They are reacting to the spiritual pressure building around you. The ground is trembling before the earthquake of your breakthrough, and your family is the first to feel the tremors. They are waiting for the new man to emerge from the rubble. The fourth sign is that you see leaks, small compromises in your integrity, small losses of your time, your energy, your focus that you can't seem to plug. It feels like you are losing ground, that the life you've built is slowly draining away through invisible cracks in the foundation. This is not decay, this is demolition. God is allowing the structures you built in your own strength to crumble, not to leave you exposed, but to clear the ground for what He is about to build. A structure that cannot be shaken, one that requires His wisdom, not just your work ethic, to maintain. If these signs are familiar, if you carry this weight that no one in your life can see or understand, I want you to make a declaration. In the comments below, write, I carry what no one else carries. This is not a complaint. It is a statement of fact for a man who has been chosen for a burden that is also a crown. Do you understand what is happening? These signs are not symptoms of your failure. They are evidence of the process. You are in a spiritual pressure chamber. God has been applying immense targeted pressure to the raw carbon of your pain, your obedience, and your long suffering. He is not trying to crush you. He is forging a diamond. The pain you feel is the friction of glory being formed inside of you. There is a Hebrew word that defines exactly what you carry. When I tell you what it is, you will never look at this period of your life the same way again. Stay with me. Before I give you the Hebrew name for what you are carrying, I need to remind you of something. The instrument that Solomon left behind, the one I mentioned at the beginning. It does not replace the name you are about to receive. It helps you sustain the name in the ordinary days after the name has been given. This is why the order matters. First the name, then the tool to govern what the name represents. Feek. Close your eyes. Right where you are, breathe in deeply. Now place a hand over your chest. I want you to feel the rhythm of your own heart for a moment. That is the sound of a promise still fighting for you. The tension you have been carrying for these 7 years is not a punishment. It has a name. It is a holy process with a word in Hebrew that was written over your file in heaven long before you knew you were being tested. The word is bachan. You will find it translated in your English Bible simply as to test or to prove. But that translation is a shadow of the reality. The word bachan is the specific term for what a metallurgist does to gold or silver. He applies intense, strategic fire. His purpose is not to destroy the metal. His purpose is to burn away every impurity, every dross, every weakness, until all that is left is the pure, authentic, validated, precious metal. God was not testing your ability to endure. He was using the fire of these 7 years to prove the quality of your heart. The psalmist David understood this. In Psalm 26, he cries out, Prove me, O Lord, and try me. Test my heart and my mind. The word he uses for test is bachan. He was inviting the refiner's fire. He was asking God to burn away anything that was not of him, so that his service, his worship, his very identity would be proven authentic. Your 7 years of silence were not a delay. They were the fire of bachan. Your act of forgiveness was not the end of your suffering. It was the final evidence that the test was complete. Your heart had been proven pure. For 7 years you felt like a seed buried under frozen ground. But you were not just buried. You were in the crucible. God was using the pressure and the heat of your circumstances to forge something in you that could not be forged in a season of ease. The file in heaven that had your name on it was sealed, waiting for one final signature. Your act of forgiveness was that signature. And when you signed it, the file was opened. The test was marked complete. The word bachan was stamped across it. This period of your life has a name, even before it has an end. It is the season of your proving. You did not fail. You were not forgotten. You were being purified for the very blessing you thought had passed you by. The weight you carry is the weight of precious metal that has survived the fire. And a man whose heart has been proven pure is now qualified for a level of wisdom that others cannot handle. The instrument of wisdom is only given to the man who has passed the test of the heart, to the man who has been through the Bakan. Now that you know the name of what you carry, I need to show you that someone carried this before you. A man whose own forgiveness was tested not by silence, but by the sudden reappearance of those who betrayed him. And what happened to him, what he chose to do in that moment, will change everything for you. I will come back to this. Stay with me. There was another man who was proven in the fire. Another man who understood forgiveness not as an event, but as a posture. He understood the long winter of waiting, the silence of a promise that seemed to have been forgotten by God and man. His name was Joseph, and the frequency of the spirit that operated in him is the same one being tuned in your heart right now. He was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, and slandered into a prison cell. For years, he was a ghost, a forgotten man living in the crucible of Bakan. His waiting was not passive. In the house of Potiphar, he learned to govern. In the prison, he learned to steward authority even when he had none. He was being trained in the dark for a throne he could not see. The wisdom he was gathering was not for his own survival. It was for the survival of a nation. God was forging an instrument in the furnace of injustice, preparing a man to manage a blessing so large it would save the world. Then one morning the call came. The prisoner was brought before the king. The years of silent preparation erupted in a moment of stunning clarity as he interpreted Pharaoh's dream. The forgotten man became the second most powerful man on earth overnight. His waiting was not a delay. It was a qualification. The fire had done its work. The gold was pure. But the ultimate test of his wisdom came years later. After their father, Jacob, died, his brothers fell at his feet, terrified. They were convinced his forgiveness had been a performance, a temporary stay of execution. They expected the revenge he was entitled to. They expected the powerful man to finally settle the score with the broken men who had wounded him. They expected power to act like power. This was Joseph's great moment of applied wisdom. His faith had already been proven. Now his stewardship was being tested. He looked at the men who had sold him into slavery, and he wept. He did not see enemies to be punished. He saw the broken pieces of the promise he was called to protect. He told them, "Do not fear. As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive, as they are today." He used his power not to crush, but to cover. He used his wisdom not to win an argument, but to secure a future. He did not fight with his bare hands. He fought with a wisdom that understood God's purposes are bigger than man's pain. He operated with a heavenly criteria. He had the instrument to govern the blessing. That same spirit, that same frequency of wisdom that turned a wound into a legacy, is what is being released to you now. It is time to receive the names that your own season of fire has earned you. These are not titles. They are your spiritual reality. The first name, to seal who you became in the waiting, is this: proven in fire. You are not a victim of the test. You are the validated result of it. You are the gold that did not break in the crucible. This name carries the authority of a man whose character has been signed off on by heaven itself. You are authentic. You are pure. You are ready. And because you are proven in fire, you are also commissioned for what comes next. The second name, which releases you into your purpose, is this: steward of the seventh year. You are not just the heir who receives the long-awaited blessing. You are the wise administrator who will govern it. You are the man God trusts to manage the harvest that grew in the 7 years of silence. This is your commission. But there is something the enemy does not want you to know about these two names, because when you know it, he loses the primary weapon he has been using against you. He loses his access to your past and his power over your future. Feek. You were given these names because they were earned in a battle, and every battle has a map. The enemy has a strategy, and for a long time you have been fighting him without seeing it. You have not been losing because you are weak. You have been losing ground because you have been operating without the map. The main CTA delivered the practical map. This is the spiritual one. The adversary has two primary tactics he will deploy against a man who is proven in fire and who has been made a steward of the 7th year. His first tactic is the erosion by comparison. He will parade before your eyes the men who did not go through your fire, who did not wait 7 years and yet seem to be blessed. He will whisper, "Your sacrifice was for nothing. Your obedience was a fool's errand. Look at them. They cut corners and God blessed them anyway. What did your integrity get you?" 7 years of silence. He wants you to measure your unique, handcrafted trial against someone else's mass-produced victory. He wants you to devalue the gold of your Bakan because it cost you more than their tin. Your weapon against this is the decree of the unique path. When that whisper comes, you do not argue with it. You do not reason with it. You declare out loud, "My path is not their path. My timing is sealed by God, and my trial was by divine appointment. I am not in competition. I am in my commission. I receive the reward of my obedience, not theirs." You speak what God has said about you, not what the enemy is showing you in others. This is a declaration of your position. If you are ready to hold this ground, to stand in this new authority, then I want you to do something as a spiritual act. Subscribe to this channel. This is not about a number. It is a signal to your own spirit that you are positioning yourself to receive every word, every strategy that is to come. It is an act of saying, "I am under this anointing for this season." The enemy's second tactic is the erosion of persistence. He will try to make you quit 24 hours from the breakthrough. Now that you're at the threshold, he will whisper that the blessing is just another burden. "You're too tired for this," he'll say. "You finally got through the waiting and now you have to manage a harvest. It's too much. Just rest. Just stay where you are. It's safer here." He wants you to believe that the finish line of your trial is not a relief, but the starting line of an even more exhausting race, so that you give up your claim on the promised land right at its border. Your weapon here is the resistance of the threshold. It is the grit of the last second. When every part of your body and soul wants to collapse, you simply stand. You do not need to fight. You do not need to strive. You plant your feet on the ground that your forgiveness has purchased. You hold the name of steward of the 7th year in your spirit, and you refuse to be moved. You have already paid the price. The deed is in your name. All you have to do now is occupy the territory. Now that you know how he will come at you, and you know how to stand against him, there is a prayer that must be prayed, not a prayer for you, a prayer prayed by you, and I am going to lead you in it. This is the seal. Close your eyes now. Place both hands over your chest. Take a deep breath, and do not release it until I tell you. Now hold it. This prayer is not a request. It is an acknowledgement. Let us pray. Lord, I confess this exhaustion, the kind of tired that sleep cannot touch. I confess the vigilance in my body, the war that continues in my soul long after I have declared peace. I confess the weight of decisions that feel too heavy for a common day, and the cycle of repeating mistakes I can see but cannot break. I confess the pain of coming home and having my family receive my silence instead of my heart. I have carried this alone, but I will not carry it into my future. I stand here now, not as a victim of my trial, but as a man who endured it. I receive the name you have earned for me. I am proven in fire. I am the gold that survived the furnace, and I receive the commission you are giving me. I am the steward of the 7th year. I will govern the blessing that my obedience has unlocked. My heart is open, my spirit is quiet. Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. Release your breath, and in the silence that follows, hear the voice that is not your own, the voice that was there before the foundation of the world. I saw you. I saw you in the nights when you stared at the ceiling and the tightness in your chest arrived before your first thought. I saw the battle in your mind, the rehearsals of arguments long past, the shallow breathing of a man who could not rest. I was there in the quiet of the 3 a.m. watch. I saw you at the crossroads of your decisions. I saw you choose out of desperation because clarity did not come in time. I saw you wake the next morning with the familiar weight of the error you had diagnosed but could not avoid. And I saw the pain of that repetition, the wound it carved in your confidence. And I saw you walk through your front door, carrying the world on your shoulders. I saw your wife learn not to ask. I saw your children learn to wait. And I saw that this holy isolation was the heaviest burden of all. I saw it. Do you remember that day? That one moment when I was more real to you than the air in your lungs? That altar is still standing. I have not forgotten it. You have only learned to doubt it. The test is over. The fire has done its work. The seed you planted in the frozen ground of obedience 7 years ago, the one you thought had died in the earth, it has broken through. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. You are committed. You are commissioned. You are sent. Do not say amen yet. Just stay in this. Feel the weight of the commission settling on your shoulders. It is not the weight of a burden. It is the weight of a mantle, the weight of your true name. The harvest has come. Now you can say amen. What was sealed here now will be tested on the first Monday morning. When the alarm clock rings, when the routine returns, when the voice of the old cycle tries to reinterpret what happened here today as the passing emotion of a Sunday evening. The enemy does not surrender without a fight what has just been decreed over you. And a man who is commissioned without an instrument walks onto the open field without what Solomon recorded for this exact moment. The exception was opened in heaven. Now it must survive the common day. The Solomon Wisdom Code is in the first pinned comment, right below this video, not as a substitute for what you have received in this message, as a companion to defend what has been sealed. Because a decree without an instrument rots on the first Monday morning, and the adversary is counting on Monday. Less than a Sunday morning coffee at the church cafe, less than a Saturday lunch combo, with a 7-day guarantee, and the 2 bonus instruments are yours to keep even if it does not serve you. The risk is ours. The hand is yours. Click now while the decree is still alive in your chest. Not tomorrow. Not after your shower, not after you talk to someone, because he who leaves it for later leaves it for never, and the adversary is counting on later. He has counted on later with every other message you have received and postponed. He is counting on later now. This will not be one of those. And now the final word. There is someone in your circle carrying the exact weight you carried until today. Someone who will arrive home tonight unloading the same burden. Someone who will lay their head on the pillow with the same soul on high alert. That person will not stop scrolling on their own. They need someone to send this to them. That someone is you. This is not sharing a video. This is intercession. Now, close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths and remain in silence until the video ends. What was done here needs to land. Do not scroll. Do not leave. Stay.